Every single street corner in New York City tells a story. But what about the stories buried, under the streets? Today, we're going to dig deep, way deep, into the secret foundations of NYC and uncover a history that's been paved over for centuries.
So you think you know New York, right? The skyline, the landmarks, but that's really just the surface. The city you see today, it's just the latest layer of a story that goes deeper than any subway line. We're going to peel it all back to a time before the skyscrapers, before the traffic, heck, even before the name New York even existed.
Okay, so to find the city's true foundation, we have to strip away all the concrete. Before this was a jungle of skyscrapers, it was, well, a literal forest. A rich, vibrant, natural world that's almost impossible to imagine now. I want you to picture this with me. The year is 1609. You're sailing with Henry Hudson, right into the harbor. There are no streets, no buildings, just this incredible island teeming with life. And what's amazing is, thanks to the Manhattan Project, we don't just have to imagine, we can actually see what this lost world looked like. The contrast is just staggering. This wasn't some flat piece of land waiting for a grid. Manhattan, which is the Lenape name for it, actually meant island of many hills. It was this rolling landscape of lush forests with over 50 miles of streams, home to bears and beavers, and all of it right under what is now Times Square. Mind-blowing, right?
So, how did that pristine island become a global hub? Well, the first Europeans to settle here weren't pilgrims searching for religious freedom. Nope, they were employees. This wasn't a mission of faith. It was a business venture from day one.
The settlement of New Amsterdam was founded by the Dutch West India Company. You should really think of it as one of the world's first multinational corporations. Their goal wasn't to build a city on a hill, it was to build a port, control the incredibly lucrative fur trade, and make a ton of money for their shareholders. This commercial DNA, right here, it became the single most important gene in New York's identity.
We all learn about the pilgrims up at Plymouth, who were trying to build this pure religious society. New Amsterdam was the polar opposite. See, to be a successful global trading hub, you can't be picky about who you do business with. So from its very first days, the settlement had this practical tolerance, not because of some lofty ideology, but because it was simply good for business.
And what that means is that the big arguments in early New York weren't about scripture. As Russell Shorto's amazing book, The Island at the Center of the World, points out, the real fight was between the tough-as-nails governor Peter Stuyvesant and the citizens who were demanding individual rights and free trade. It was a battle for the soul of the city, and commerce was right at the heart of it. But of course, this Dutch experiment wasn't going to last forever. Another global power had its eyes on this incredibly strategic port, and in 1664, the English showed up to claim it for themselves. The actual takeover was surprisingly anticlimactic. An English fleet just sailed into the harbor, and Governor Stuyvesant, who was famous for his temper but really short on gunpowder, had to surrender without a single shot fired. The Dutch actually got it back for a little bit, but by 1674 it was official. The colony was permanently English and got its new name, New York. But here's the crucial thing. It's all about what didn't change. The English changed the flag and the name, but they kept the original operating system. They were smart enough to see that the Dutch model of commerce and diversity just worked. The city's energy, its hustle, its identity as this global magnet. That Dutch foundation was simply too strong and way too profitable to get rid of. Okay, let's hit the fast-forward button. We jump a century through British rule and the American Revolution. The brand-new United States needed an engine, and New York, with its deep commercial roots, was perfectly positioned. It was even the nation's first capital for a short time, and from there, its growth in the 19th century was nothing short of explosive.
Just look at the numbers. They really tell the story. At the end of the Revolution, the population was about 25,000. Just over a century later, it had skyrocketed to 3.4 million. So how on earth does a city grow that fast?
Well, it was basically a perfect storm of huge transformative events. First, the Erie Canal opens up in 1825, and boom, the city becomes the undisputed gateway to the American continent. Then you have these massive waves of immigrants pouring in and providing the human fuel for all this growth. Wall Street cements its role as the nation's financial capital. And finally, the city takes its modern shape in 1898 when the 5 boroughs all unite to form the metropolis we know today. So when you walk through New York today, you're not just in a modern city. You're literally walking on top of these foundational forces, things that were laid down centuries ago that still shape its every move. This is really the city's core code, its source code. It was designed from day one to be a global center of commerce. It has always been a magnet for ambitious people and for immigrants. Its only true constant has been relentless change and reinvention. And it has always walked this fine line between pure chaotic energy and the order needed to make it all work. That was true in Dutch New Amsterdam, and it is absolutely true today.
And all this brings us to a final really big question. If the city's true foundation isn't stone or steel, but this powerful idea of perpetual reinvention, what does that mean for its future? What will the next layer of New York's story be built on?